Good morning, friends. For those of you who join me live Tuesdays and Thursdays, forgive me for being a few minutes late this morning. Today, it's true. We're going to solve all of the world's problems, including confusion about God, depression, and the rest of the crises facing the world. And we're going to do it over one cup of coffee. So, to kick things off, before we finally solve the riddle of what is this God thing and how do we cure all of the world's problems, how do we do that? First, we have something to do together. And in homage to one of my favorite writers, Scott Adams, please grab a cup, a mug, a glass, a chalice, a stein, a tankard, a thermos, a vessel of any kind, and join me for the simultaneous sip. It's the thing that makes everything easier to understand, including God and including all of the world's problems. Grab your cup and join me now for the simultaneous sip with Capitalism and Coffee. Go! Woo! Now we're talking, or as one of my personal trainers used to say, now we're cooking with gas. If you are watching live, please say hello in the comments. I would love to say hello. Hey, Carl Allen, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Hey, Iwana, good to see you. Thanks to all of you from the 1% who come over to YouTube to join me for Capitalism and Coffee. So today we're going to talk about a concept that is my explanation for the world, that if you see it, if you see how it all fits together, I believe that it solves all of the world's problems. So have you noticed recently, a couple of things happening in the world right now? First of all, have you noticed that people seem more separate from each other or more repelled from one another? This was very clear to me over the weekend when there was this Wayfair scandal, which I found highly entertaining and also disturbing that I have friends who actually believe this and are reposting this. And then I shouldn't say on the other side, but at the same time, there are people posting about other things that they are upset about or angry about. Have you noticed that this is at an all-time high? You notice that people are repelled against each other more than ever. Have you seen this? And good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Matt Callan. Good morning, Oase. Hey, Matt O. Hello, Susan Anderson. Hello, Daniel. Hey, Marius. Hey, Herb. Hello, Mark Cuda. You are looking good today. So if you've noticed this, if you notice that there is more repelling from one another, it reflects what I might consider the fundamental or primary misunderstanding of the universe. Here's where I'm going with this. Some of you know that I went to college thinking that I was going to be a pastor. Some of you know that I spent most of my life as a born-again evangelical Christian. Some of you might also know that I came from a little bit of a wing of the church that believed the world was 6,000 years old and that we were all going to disappear in a rapture at any moment. So this is my life for the first 17 years of my life, and then struggling or wrestling with faith and Christianity and spirituality from ages about 18 to 25 and finally deconverting around 24, 25. So still for most of my life, I come from a fairly Christian background. And when I was finally able to get out of the angry stage, the rejection stage of Christianity at about 28, then I started to open up to ideas of spirituality, or ideas of a pursuit of truth rather than a rejection of the previous truth. And where I am today, what I have concluded today, and I say that because I am always open to being proven wrong, to being shown something better, or to adjusting beliefs that I no longer think serve me or that are actually true. So where I stand today is that the fundamental question, the fundamental misunderstanding, the fundamental difference of human beings is the tension between unity, togetherness, oneness, and separateness. And that the human experience is often the experience of separateness with the desire for more unity, the desire for more togetherness. Now, the answer is both. We are both together, one, united, all of those things, and we are separate individuals. There is no separateness, there is no disconnection, but we are fully autonomous, complete, separate beings from another in our physical world. Now, when I tell you this, you will see this from now on. You will see what lens people are speaking from when they comment about the world's problems. You will see people's viewpoint. You will see their lens, and that is the context from which they speak. Now, I happen to subscribe to the idea that we all came from the same place. Physics would say that before the Big Bang, what existed was infinite density and infinite, all matter and time and space was contained in a point of infinite density, which, what the H does that even mean, infinite density? It means too small to see it, too small to experience it, and all time, space, and matter is contained within this. So I subscribe to the idea that if that is true, then it is all one, it is all connected, it is all the same. We all come from the same place, whether you call that God or infinite density or source or whatever. Science backs this out, that we're all coming from the same thing, from the same stuff. So if that's the case, if that's the truth, if that's scientifically true, then we all are the same density, the same infiniteness, just expanding. This is God. Now, where do all of the world's problems come from? All of the world's problems come from the belief that we are separate and permanently separate. So if you look at religion, the fundamental starting point for many religions is you are separated from God, or we have strayed or separated from God. Fundamental belief. It's a foundational belief that is the beginning of all religion. We have separated, and now there must be a bridge to bring them back. But even the bridge building suggests that we stay separate. This is also true for entrepreneurs who study with entrepreneurial depression and anxiety. By the way, something I've experienced many times, even as recently as a few days ago, which is what prompted me to talk about this morning. Realizing that most entrepreneurial depression, most depression in general, comes from the comparison of where someone else is and where you perceive yourself to be, is the source of all depression. Depression does not come from thinking about serving other people. It can only come from thinking about yourself and comparing yourself to some other ideal, whether that is the ideal of where you think you should be or where you see other people. Now, all of this can only cause a negative reaction in us if we assume that we are separate from that other person. So you might see this in political circles at the moment, especially when we're talking about wealth and we're talking about inequality. I find it so adorably hilarious that Jeff Bezos is now an enemy in the media. He's now an enemy because he has so much money. And so people see him as an enemy. Well, check this out. This can only be true if you believe that Jeff Bezos and his money is separate from you and keeping you in a place where you don't want to be. That is the reason why some people view him as an enemy. If we believed that his money was also your money, and the more that everybody else makes, the more that the pie expands, and the more that you have access to, and the more that you can earn, well, then you just root for everybody. If you're on my email list, I signed almost every email with, "I'm rooting for you." That is both a genuine statement and a reminder to myself that me rooting for you is also the best thing for me. You expanding, if I believe that we're not separate, but that we all come from the same stuff, then you winning actually makes things better for me. You crushing it, you having a great day, you winning all the games you decide to play, you deciding to go all in, you having a great time, actually makes my life better. Actually helps carve the path out easier for me. Now, here's the rub. If you believe the opposite, if you believe that we're separate from one another, if you believe that there is infinite separateness rather than infinite oneness, if you believe there's infinite separateness, then every time someone else wins, it's a threat to you. Because now the gap, the chasm gets wider. The chasm between what you are comparing yourself to and where you perceive yourself to be only widens. Why? Because if you believe that you're separate, then you will be comparing yourself to the outside world your entire life and taking all of the cues that you get from the outside world. So the flip is to recognize that yes, we are separate physically, and we are infinitely connected. There is both separateness and no separateness at the same time. We have a hard time grasping this in the three-dimensional world, but there are multiple dimensions. If you've listened to Tim Ferriss's podcast, they break this down super, super sciencey. That deserves a simultaneous sit. Go. So what do we do about this problem? First of all, good morning, Andrea. Good morning, Keith Walker. Good morning, Drew Hitchcock. Good to see you. Hello, Jason Hartman. Oh, I sometimes forget to put your comments on the screen. Hi, Greg Lee Moreno. What's up, old friend? So, what do we do about this? Jason put in the comments, you might like the Course in Miracles. If you've studied Course in Miracles, or if you've studied really any spiritual teaching or business teaching for that matter, there's a gap between, okay, now I get it intellectually. What do we do about this? Well, here's what we do about this. So first of all, especially if you're an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, and you have experienced that feeling of comparison or entrepreneurial depression, or the thought that occurred to me in the last couple of days was, I should be further ahead by now. You ever had that recurring, like, I thought it would be different. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I should be further ahead by now. Everybody's killing it but me. You ever had those thoughts recurring over and over and over and over again? Well, if I'm correct that all of those stem from a perspective, a false perspective of separateness, then the first thing that we can do is simply turn off all external noise. We give so much power to this idea of blaming the media. We blame fake news. We blame CNN. We blame Fox. We blame Facebook. We love to look at the big media machine and cast blame to it. But we're the ones watching. We're the ones giving it attention. We're the ones tuning into it thus we're telling them exactly what we want. Now, if there are some bizarre comments in today's YouTube, this is interesting. So the view that I have concluded is the most true for me is that our brains are more of a filter than they are anything else. Most of us think that our brains are the creative source, but it's actually the filtering source. So if it's true that we all come from the same stuff, then our brains filter what of it that we see, view, and understand. So in the same way that a dog has about 30% of our vision, but they have 10,000% of our sense of smell, they're experiencing a different filter than we are. Their view, their experience of living is very different from ours. Even though we can communicate and interact with them, their filter is different. They're getting a different sensory experience than we are. Makes sense, right? So when you look at the sky and you say, is the sky blue? Or look at the blue sky. The sky isn't actually blue. Your brain filters it as blue. Your brain receives that and filters it as blue. Hi, Alish. No, this is not live. I have gone into the future and I've seen your comment and now I am responding back to you in your present day, your present reality. So all of this to say, since your brain is a filter, your job is to filter into the stuff that you want and want to experience instead of all of the default stuff that is constantly being bombarded. That's our job. So your brain is a filter. Your brain only can sense what it sifts through. So your job is to give it the place to sift through, to filter through. So what does that look like? What does that mean? Matt says, if you're from the future, can you tell me if we'll have a college football season? There will indeed be a college football season. There will not be many fans, and it will not be very highly watched, but there will indeed be a college football season. So, all of this to say, when you are filtering by default, it means you are in the world and your brain is going flick, 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 flick with the things that agree with its beliefs or not. So if you are a filterer by default, it means you are usually being run by beliefs that have been ingrained into your brain for years and years and years, and you are now selectively finding the facts and information that match those beliefs. This is the separateness view of humanness and reality. So you are separate, you have your beliefs, and you find and match a bunch of other things and data points that agree with that belief system. And then on the other side, the other extreme is you have no beliefs, you have no goals, you feel no direction. Here is the bridge. And the solution to all of our problems is to decide what it is that you want to experience and see nothing to the contrary. Give no attention to that of the contrary. I want to be happy and I want to experience wellness, and every minute that I spend paying attention to other people talk about why they are not well is a violation of my own beliefs and values. Watching the news, some people, or even just sifting through information, some people view as fact-finding. They view as looking for the truth. But all truth is an interpretation of data points, facts, other information that are all put through the lens of our own individual beliefs. It's all interpretation, all of it. 100% of it. This is all interpretation. So your job is to consciously interpret things to match what it is that you want. That's it. So when you experience like depression, whether it's from an entrepreneur or as an entrepreneur or for something else, it is the belief, first of all, it's in the fundamental belief that you are separate from other people and that their success is not your success. And number two, it is you looking to the outside world for a data point, for a verification, for information to try and match a desire rather than a belief. This is the fundamental divergence of the universe, if you will. Now, here's some good news. Have you noticed that the world seems to be happening faster recently? Have you noticed that change happens a lot faster? Are you noticing? I mean, get this. Do you realize that, well, what are stocks doing today? I think they're slightly up. Yeah, they're up about 100 points. So did you know that stocks are now, actually, so here, check this out. August 26th, 2019. So just under a year ago. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was 1,000 points lower than it was today. Stocks are bad right now, right? Actually, stocks are up year over year. That's crazy. And why is that the case? Because things are changing faster than they've ever changed. I mean, Wayfair's in the news for reasons different than this, but if you look at Wayfair stock over the last 6 months, it's gone from $23 to $220. It has literally 10x'd in 6 months. Actually, no, since March, April, May, June, July, 4 months, it has 10x'd. It's been sitting here and go, why didn't I buy $1 million worth of Wayfair? Why didn't I buy $1 million worth of Wayfair? Now, the reason I'm telling you that is because the world, the economy, everything is speeding up. Everything. Expansion is speeding up. Wealth creation is speeding up. Destruction is speeding up. Information is speeding up. Change is speeding up. So you can put your attention on whatever it is that you want, and things can happen real fast. This is why I believe in stuff like Dan Sullivan is one of my entrepreneurial heroes, and he said, my whole life I just knew I was going to live to be 152. 157, I think it is. It's like my whole life I just believed I was going to be 157 before I died. He's 78 right now. And yes, Matt, just like the Cleveland Indians changing their name. Ugh. It's going to be the Cleveland Spiders. I can get used to it. The reason why I believe people like Dan Sullivan who say, I'm just going to live to be 157 is because the pace of change is happening so quickly that we can have a medical breakthrough next year that expands lifespans by 30 years. That can happen. We are at a very interesting transition point in the world, and where everything is opening up and everything is speeding up. And it is, and this divergent universe where we're both infinitely separate and infinitely connected is actually the reason why we experience growth. And the strength of that polarity at the moment is the reason why things are accelerating so quickly. Because you are separate and you create separately, you create your own world, you create your own friend group, you create your own businesses, you create your own legacy separate from everything else, and that is connected to the entire collective, which speeds up the entire direction of things. I'm getting very esoteric now, so before I go too far down the rabbit hole, one of the things I like to do is just open up the room for those of you who have business questions or life questions, or you just want to rap about something. So I'm going to post in the YouTube chat. I just posted the link to come hang out with me here inside of the room. And if you would like to go through a business, an investment, a question, a life challenge, we'll take one or two people who want to come hang out. Now, let's talk about stocks. Let's take a look. What's going on? So last Tuesday, I predicted that stocks would rise, and I was sort of right. We went up and down, and now we're back up again. So last week we were right at 26,000. I think we were at 25,800. So we're just slightly up from there. And actually, let me put this out there in case anybody is watching this. I really want to get good at trading stocks. Like, I want to get really good at it. Like, I want to be able to make like $25,000 to $50,000 a month trading stocks. So if any of you are expert stock traders or no expert stock traders, I would really like to get good at this. So feel free to reach out. I'm Instagram at Ryan Daniel Moran. But if we look at the total snapshot of where we're actually trending up. There's a lot of pressure to move up. And based on today's numbers, just like we were a week ago where we were about in the same spot, we're still seeing pressure to go upward. So the market is trying real hard to push up to this 28,000 mark, which would be nearing new highs, by the way. I was looking at MasterCard last week. I got my arse handed to me on MasterCard because we dropped below this 300 mark. We were right here trying to push up, and then we fell. So I was wrong on that one. And I was also looking at T-Mobile. That was the other one, where we've been flat, but this is now hitting 30-day moving average. And I'm expecting this to pop up. We shall see, but I'm still tracking these. So I was right on the market, wrong on a few individual stocks. Keith is here in the room. So let's see what we got. Keith, give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Keith, give me a thumbs up. Keith is frozen. So, nope. All right. Yeah, Drew says, I still think Tesla is bonkers right now. Yes, I agree. Tesla is way overvalued, way overpriced, and I'm not touching it at the moment. Hey, Ryan, I emailed you at Capitalism. Want to know if you'd be... No, I'm not interested in buying your... Well, you know what, Kyle? Go ahead and shoot me a P&L if you want. But my advice, if you're looking to sell an FBA business, go with FBA Broker. Corin Woodmassey's my most recommended person. You need to be pacing at least $1 million in order to work with him, but I would highly recommend him. Bo asks, what moving averages are you using? I use the 7-day and I use the 30-day. So let's do this. I'm going to invite you this week to look at how much time you spend This is a good inventory to do at the end of the day. How much time, how much energy did you give basing your evaluations, basing your analysis on other people or outside data? How much time, how much attention did you give to what other people put out versus what you intrinsically, internally want? Most of us give our attention to outside things and make our judgments based on the outside world. And we base our results on the outside world and thus never get make any intrinsic decisions, tuning into our internal knowing or internal direction. So at the end of today, if you're willing, at the end of tomorrow, take inventory of the things you did and how many of them were based on what it is that you wanted versus the feedback that you got from the outside world. Hey, if you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. I'm doing an experiment where I am going live twice a week to see if I like it and to see if YouTube likes it, to see if you like it. So hit the subscribe button and you'll see when I go live next. Right now I'm doing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. I'm going to do it for this quarter, see how it goes. And I will talk to you Thursday morning. Thanks for hanging out with me on your Tuesday morning, and I'll talk to you in a couple days. Take care.